So the Black News Channel was recently shut down, or has it been shut down officially, or did he just?
Yeah, it's off the air, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's where all the pay dispute stuff is coming from.
Gotcha. Yeah, they just closed. Oh, it looks like March 25th. So literally a couple days ago.
Ouch.
Did you hear anything about why they actually shut down?
I have no idea. It didn't seem like probably I would say ratings has to be at the top of the list, but
I can see that.
they just didn't seem to garner the traction that they would need. But then again, you don't expect to have media ventures like this unless it's Quibi. Go.
Well, Quibi was a terrible idea from jump.
Like I don't feel like they gave it enough time.
You don't think they gave the Black News Channel enough time, or Quibi?
Oh, and Black News Channel. Yeah, Quibi was terrible.
Yeah. Black News Channel apparently shut down 2 years after it started. So, yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree.
It was also the fact that the very obvious, conflict that it was a Black News Channel that was not Black owned.
Yeah.
So wherein lies the same problems that we have with a BET or, even channels that are quote unquote catered to our audiences. So I have to feel that the organic or the grassroots lack of support probably branched from that as well. Mm-hmm. There's always the feeling of trying to implant an apparatus into somebody's community as opposed to it growing organically. So I think that combined with the fact that the owner seemed to have a very, very short lease on the network in general.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem to spell success, which is disappointing because they had some guys on there, maybe not necessarily that I follow, but I can at least listen to, from a perspective point, like Marc Lamont Hill or Charles Blow. They had the dude on there from ESPN, the former ESPN anchor. He was on there, and I mean they brought on guests that I would like to see. Cornel West was a frequenter on there. They did bring up Black issues. They talked about Black topics in a variety of different segments, sports, pop culture, politics, and I would say the individual anchors and personalities did do a fairly good job. Well, at least the ones that I was watching did a good job of centering the conversations from a Black perspective. And that's as mundane as that sounds, it's so much more than what we've come accustomed to expect, from mainstream media outlets. And that's what this was. It was almost like the example of a mostly Black mainstream media platform, but it just didn't. It had too many riffs, I think, from the beginning to be ultimately successful.
I can see that for sure, just because we've had instances on here where we talked about some of their content. Specifically, you talked about things that Marc Lamont Hill has said, but for the life of me, before I realized that Marc Lamont Hill was even on there today, I didn't know what the Black News Channel was, or that was the platform that he was even on.
Yeah.
So it would seem that their biggest problem was the fact that they weren't marketed well enough. They weren't put out there well enough.
That's a byproduct of grassroots support.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't have grassroots support, then you're marketing a Black product to the masses, which is if you ain't dribbling a basketball or singing into a mic, it ain't it.
I would agree with that. If I think about like a grassroots platform, it would be like TYT. Something that started off kind of...
That is literally grassroots. Like they came up as a internet platform. They're almost solely ran on like subscriber donations or member donations. So that is the very definition. This is some rich guy who thought it was a good idea to make a Black News Channel and gave up on it 2 years in.
And that's how it feels. It feels like somebody who thought, oh, well, Black people will probably feed into this because it's a news channel for us, by us.
He wasn't making CNN and MSNBC profits.
Which wouldn't happen.
That's what you have to to do something like this, you have to come into it knowing that you're going to be working twice as hard for a third of the reward.
So my question,
you have to understand that to gauge your success. You have to have a certain understanding of what it is. What is success for a channel like that?
let me ask you this: do you think that, like you just said, it takes somebody who's really actually invested and not just money wise, like trying to make a money grab?
That's what it's gonna take.
Would that happen with anybody who is not black?
Well, I think you'll always struggle to garner grassroots support in a black venture that's not spearheaded by black people.
Yeah. That's my thought, is that he looked at this as a cash grab because he felt like black people would just get behind it.
And it even looks even more like a cash grab when you turn it to the fact that you're not paying your employees any type of severance, not just a severance, but the last 2 weeks of their work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's extremely gross. Now we're getting into the Jeff Bezos type of way of managing and being a CEO. So yeah, fuck him for that. Perspective replacements, they got Revolt. I think they're going to be launching a Black News thing,
which could be cool. I mean, it seems like they're a channel who is somewhat headed in the right direction with their content choices.
But yeah, I mean, I just think if something like that is going to be successful, grassroots support is going to be key.
Mm-hmm. Because
then those are going to be the same people that you're then asking to trust the information that you're feeding to them. And there's already a deeply rooted mistrust in the apparatus of mainstream media in general. Mm-hmm. So starting a new venture headed by some a Middle Eastern billionaire who seems to be trigger happy on his investments now, it's just that smells that's off. It's off.
And not to get into it, but says a lot about NFL ownership that the one minority owner is also a money hungry,
douche.
Yeah. Yep. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this whole situation at all?
I do not. Give us your thoughts in the comments below.
And make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out some of our other videos on just different things about black injustice, especially in the media.